Beta branch 1.5.8 has gone live just last Thursday, and I've finally gotten around to testing it and putting it through its paces. So I'm going to quickly go over some upfront information about Beta branch 1.5.8, and then you can stick around if you want to go through all of the patch notes with me, as well as some, I guess, a dip into the game to show off some of these changes and improvements. But for the most part, 1.5.8 is basically one of those beta branches that is mainly geared towards fixing things and kind of like a really big hot fix more than anything. I'll be honest, if you don't want to start a new game or you're not really looking at 1.5.8 in a real analytical sense, then just don't even bother. You're not even going to miss anything. What they did add was Pillaging, which is really cool, but it seems to be very buggy right now. So I'd say wait for that to hit the main branch before you really kind of go through it. And then outside of that, they fixed formation spawning in so that when your units spawn in, they spawn in now in a much more orderly fashion with specific formations having specific placements in the front, the back, the left, or the right flank, depending on which unit that they are, and we'll go through those in the patch notes. And aside of that, though, I mean, there's not really been a whole ton of changes or improvements with 1.5.8. Usually this section is a little bit longer where I go through a lot of the bigger changes, but really, okay, they added 9 Battanian Helmets. They retooled the way that body armor weight works in conjunction with its armor value. So a higher armor value will make for a heavier armor weight. So aside from those things, it's been a pretty light patch, and that's all really the information you need. It does work with your current existing save. You will know that when you load into your existing save, a lot of the rebel factions will be dissolved and destroyed, and a lot of things will kind of immediately jump up to one point or another. It's really hard to explain. Basically, when I loaded up the game, all the rebel factions were disbanded, and a lot of notables were lost, quote unquote. So I don't know if that was the game kind of scrubbing away a bunch of stuff that had just been banked up and wasn't being used properly. Like maybe the notable was dead, but it wasn't actually disappearing or whatever it was. All that happened when I loaded up. But aside from that, the game runs pretty much smooth. And everything that they've added does seem a little buggy. So I would definitely wait on 1.5.8. But for those of you who want to get nittier and grittier with these patch notes, let's dive in a little bit deeper here and swing through the rest. So as we move down here, there's a number of crashes. If you have been experiencing a number of crashes and they're relegated to a specific point, please comb through this list and see if it applies to you. One I know that was perplexing a lot of people was fixed a crash that occurred when pasting a crafting weapon in the smithy. So that has now been fixed, something that was added in the last beta branch. Now, as far as performance goes, improvements to the campaign map as always, and optimization for memory allocation to reduce frame drops on the world map, and optimize performance and memory usage in the animation system. Always patch notes that I look forward to seeing, and they're there every time. So always a great thing to see. For the art though, added 9 Battanian Helmets. I think I have gotten all 9 that we'll show off later in the video. So if you want to see those, jump ahead to the point in the timeline that has the chapter that's relevant for it, and you can go ahead and watch that. Body armor weights have been recalibrated according to armor types and armor values. Now, I'm not sure how drastic this is, as I don't have a huge wide range of past knowledge on armor, and I haven't tested a whole bunch of them, but from what I've seen in the armor I'm wearing, when we jump in, I'll show you that, it has gone up a considerable amount, but it's also very good armor. So it's kind of expected. It's tier 6. I'm now at 50 total encumbrance, and I guess it's kind of par for the course, but I'm also like a cavalry master, so it works out for me. But one thing I'm just not too stoked on is this little ditty. Armors no longer have adjectives which define their origin. For example, Southern, Northern, etc., etc. Imperial would be another one. Woodland would be another one. Eastern, I believe they do for all of Khazate, and Western they do for Valandia. And honestly, I kind of liked those. It kind of let me know exactly where those pieces were from if I wanted to make a specific narrative character. So I actually don't really like this. I think it's a bit of a detractor from the game, but maybe they wanted to create like, okay, well, a helmet is a helmet no matter where you are, unless it's a specifically like, okay, this one is a specifically stylized helmet in this fashion. Okay, cool, done. But maybe they just wanted to try to homogenize everything so it creates for less of a strict narrative template for all of the nobles, but I'm not really sure. I'm not too crazy on that. It actually made finding the Battanian helmets a lot harder because they didn't say Highland on them or Woodland or anything like that. So it was hard for me to actually kind of dig through all the helmets to find them. So not stoked on that one, but it's not like it really affects the game in any way, shape, or form, aside from just personal preference. Animations added 3 cheering animation variations. Different cheering animations will now play depending on the result of the battle. So if it's a Pyrrhic victory, your guy just cries instead. Improved Volandia settlement models and textures for the campaign map. They look pretty snazzy. Then for the UI, we have some nice little changes here as well. Added a new option, track attacked settlements, that automatically tracks settlements in the player's faction that are under attack. The only leader option only tracks these settlements if the player is the leader of the faction, which is really nice. But what I would like to see, other than only leader, I would say only owner. And I mean, basically you're shutting it off for the exception of the ones that, for the exception of your settlements that get attacked. And I kind of like that because I don't necessarily care all the time if a settlement's being attacked. So maybe only owner would be a good one because very few people are going to get to that faction leader point in their gameplay unless they're really hell-bent on it. Added a lock item button to smelting items in the smithy, along with a warning if the player tries to smelt a locked weapon. I like that one a lot. Inventory items of the same type are now arranged by their value when sorted by type. Same value items are sorted alphabetically. So remember how I said it was hard for me to find the Battanian helmets? Well, this was kind of like how I used it, was organized all the helmets by type, and then within that type, I was able to do it by value, and I knew, okay, the helmet's probably a higher value. Well, I just went alphabetical from there. So it's a nice little nested categorical system, and I like that a lot. Added a continue campaign button to the main menu that loads the latest save game, which is lovely, especially for me who has 50,000 saves. Now for battles and sieges, we get the new Pillaging. So players and AI can now choose to devastate, pillage, or show mercy to settlements that have been successfully sieged. And essentially it's varying levels of degradation upon the settlements, I guess, well, it says right here, prosperity and projects is probably the best way to just put it. Prosperity and projects of the settlement. So if you choose to devastate, you are going to completely obliterate most of it. You can't wipe it off the map here. I'm just saying that you're going to reduce everything to level 1 or completely destroy it, and you're going to greatly reduce the prosperity. So if this is a foreign culture and you're invading them and you want to make sure you have a little issue, you can just devastate it and have it rebuild from the ground up, and you have less issues with prosperity, public order, and having to deal with all that action. I say public order, we're talking about total war, but still, the fact remains. Now, pillage is kind of the in-between point between devastate and show mercy. Less damage to projects, more damage to prosperity. Now, show mercy, on the other hand, does less damage to everything across the board and keeps pretty much the infrastructure intact. You would use show mercy if you are playing as, say, Khazate. You have lost a Khazate village, and you're trying to, or a Khazate settlement, and you're trying to bring that Khazate settlement back into the Khazate Empire, then you would use show mercy. Foreign culture, you do not want to do that. As it says right here, while this is expected for settlements of one's own faction culture, showing mercy to foreign settlements will cause unrest among the troops. Just as with the other choices, some nobles will approve or disapprove of the action. And hopefully this will kind of lean into stuff like whether or not your character is honorable or cruel or stuff like that. And we'll see it actually increase those values, and we'll have some sort of repercussion for those things later in the game. Hopefully, we haven't seen that really implemented in much yet. Now, improve the battle formation spawn system. Formations will now spawn within one of the 4 flanks during open field battles. So the center flank is skirmishers, heavy infantry, and infantry. Rear flank is ranged units and civilian units, peasants being a civilian unit. Then left flank would be heavy cavalry and cavalry. And then right flank would be horse archers and light cavalry, which is nice here because when you, well, I'll show this off, but when you load into an actual battle, it just looks very neat. It looks very orderly. It's not hodgepodge across one line with people twitching out all over the place. It's just a much nicer presentation. I really enjoy it. So players can now assign a different troop stack. Can now assign different troop stacks to different formations to change flanks and deployment order. Something we've already had before, but this is just a little bit better in its actual execution. Fixed a siege issue that caused attacking troops to run into walls until they routed after primary siege engines, towers and rams, were destroyed on all lanes. So nice to see that that's been fixed. You won't just have your guys running into a wall whenever something goes haywire. Formation AI siege behavior scoring has been revised significantly, allowing all AI formations to attack or pull back when the situation demands it, rather than just blindly attacking, is basically what it's trying to say. Fixed an issue that prevented AI troops from selecting the correct weapon due to the distance of the enemy through their nav mesh. So if you were, say, having your archers go ahead and charge, some of you were noticing that they would just pull out their swords and charge from downfield. This has now been fixed with this issue right here. They should actually use their bow close to the enemy. The enemy closes on them, they will use their sword to attack. What's the other one called? Not charge. Advance will work as always. They'll use their bow and keep at max distance as best as possible. Fixed various deployment spawn errors, which is kind of comes in line with the formation spawn system overhaul. Now for character development, we have added all the remaining combat-related engineering perks, 10 in total. So that finishes off engineering. Some of the ones that we have left to redo are charm and smithing, crafting. Those are the two big ones I think that a lot of people are waiting for. But for the most part, we're getting very, very close to 100% of all of the perks redone with both a campaign and combat-related perk for them, which is great. Armies improved a calculation to make AI parties more decisive when engaging enemy parties on the world map. This was actually told to me by Mexico when he was watching one of the streams, that the AI was not acting like it should, obviously, and he'll be looking into it. And what he means by that was, you ever go to attack an enemy army and they just kind of like, they like chicken each other, like, okay, I'll attack you, but I won't. I'll attack you, I won't. Attack you, I won't. They kind of come closer and away, closer and away, closer and away. This has now at least been improved. I won't say it's fixed because I've still encountered it a couple times, but I've noticed it way less than I used to before. War and peace AI has been improved so that the clans make more logical war-peace declarations. The importance of distance between kingdoms has been increased for these decisions. Kingdoms further apart tend to avoid war-peace tribute deals between each other in most cases. So again, a nice overhauling of a present system that we've seen tooled and tweaked since the launch of the game. I have noticed that when I started up my 1.5.7 save into 1.5.8, like 3 immediate peace treaties went out. And I played for a handful of hours, and there was only a war declared on a nation next to me, and that was it. So it seems to be a little bit more quelled, but I wouldn't be surprised if down the line that this is like, okay, hey, if you play for 2 more hours, you're actually going to see things go crazy. Because the way this game typically works is the longer the time that it goes from your load in from your previous save with a previous patch, it just tends to kind of get crazy towards that one point, like a 6, 7, 8 hour point. I'm not really sure which one it is, but we'll see. The other things have been buggy, so I'm not sure if this one is one to get hit with that. 200 plus power headman notables now provide elite troops, meaning that I think it was 250 or 275 before. So now you'll get more elite troops to take advantage of because you have a higher propensity to encounter 200 plus power headmen as you go around from village to village. Some other things that have been improved: experience needed to upgrade to tier 4 and 5 troops has been slightly increased. Yet again, it was already increased before. This is another further increase, which I'm totally fine with that. Passive experience for troops in NPC clans has been slightly reduced, so you won't be dealing with as many gigantic tier 4 and 5 doom stacks. Sea Raider Chiefs athletics and riding skill values have been swapped, so they're in a better situation. I've also noticed that the Imperial Sergeant crossbowmen have like 180 crossbow now. So certain things have had their skills retooled a little bit, and they kind of always do little shadow patches on that stuff. So always be mindful of it. Always check your troops, make sure they're all in good working order. Improve the performance of siege battles. CPU memory usage has been reduced as always. And then lastly, agents will no longer throw their last throwing weapon if they no longer have any other melee weapon, which is very nice. It will hold on to that. Now, I'd love to see them do that with, the pilum and stuff like that, like for them just to have javelins and give them a polearm. But still, that's a nice little improvement here. Revised weapon score calculation to make agents choose between multiple polearms more effectively, take enemy armor into account when selecting a weapon, and improve weapon reach consideration. So they should be using maces if it's a heavy armor, but maybe they realize that, hey, I really can't be doing any damage with my mace. I'm going to switch over to a sword because I have the reach. So that should help out with a lot of the wonky AI when it comes to charging, especially in sieges where they kind of switch between weapons a little too haphazardly. But this covers our patch notes for 1.5.8. I have very little to show you in the actual game. We're pretty much just going to be going through the new option for the settlement attacks, and I'm going to show you off those 9 new helmets. The Pillaging had a little too many bugs for me to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really test it in a hard and heavy way. So I'll just say Pillaging is in the game, but it's a little buggy right now, and I would wait until some hot fixes or main branch to really dive in on this. I think 1.5.8 main branch is going to be great, but I will say, before we dive in, that 1.60 is going to be amazing, and it should hopefully be out in a handful of weeks. We have no idea what that timeline is. Mexico joined us in one of our streams to kind of say, hey, here are some cool things about it, or there's just been some rumbling on the general forums for 1.60. So really looking forward to that next big jump. And I can only wonder what 2.0 is going to be like. Maybe that's going to be their launch number. Okay, hey, 1 to 2 was early access. 2.0 onward is going to be our new gold standard. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and months as always, guys, but let's go ahead and jump into the game. So here we are in the inventory screen. You can see I've got the cheat console, so I've got all the items on my left. Now here are all of the new Battanian helmets. At least 8 of the 9, I'm positive, are the new ones. Now they pretty much are all variations of bronze and steel cap. They have fringed and decorated and ridge decorated, like a whole bunch of different variations. So there's also a pretty annoying bug where these icons just don't load in, and that's a new 1.5.8 thing. I'm sure that's going to be fixed, and it's maybe only me. So let's take a look here at the bronze cap with cheat cards. I'm actually going to take this off so it looks a little bit more apparent. You can kind of see that little helmet there. And they both are just the same with different variations and additions on them. So the steel cap will look the same, just a different color. I'll even here, I'll take this off as well. And just, you know what? Let's go crazy. Let's get a little naked. Now, jumping into the fringed bronze cap here. You can see it's got a nice little plume on it, little fringe. Here's the steel one. And you can see it's very Battanian style. I like it a lot. Very, very Celtic. It does fit, especially if we were to take a look at maybe, see, I can't even think of looking for Highland anymore because Highland doesn't exist. I was gonna say the Highland scale mail will look pretty sweet with this. Oh, it does exist. European mail, there we go. Did I do the over the mail one? Or this one? Yeah, that'll do. So it looks really cool as far as its overall aesthetic matching this, and there's some new shoulder pieces too that would definitely fit that overall look. But let's go ahead and take a look at this next one. This is just a steel version of it with a nice decoration on the side now, right around here on the cheek. Here's the bronze one here. This one's a way different looking one. Here's the steel version of that. And we have already had some helmets look pretty similar to this one. Now, the only other one that I'm not sure, I think this has already been in the game, is this one. In fact, I'm pretty positive this one's already been in the game. So I say ignore this one as the number 9, but I could not find the 9th one. If you do know what that 9th new Battanian helmet is, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below, and we can figure this one out together. But I do like how they've fleshed out Battanian armor to look a less, I don't know, boring. It's had a lot of really nice layers added to it. It kind of has that late Roman, early medieval kind of touch to it that I like a lot. Has that really nice Celtic look as well. So overall, I think that it is a very fun addition. I just want to see more variations of armor rather than if I go to organize this by type from here, keep going a little bit further up. So to right there. So if you see on the left side over here, the little cursor, that's almost what? look like 40% of the entire slider of all of the armor. So there's far too many helmet variations than there are compared to anything else. So I do want to see more armor, more boot, more boot and hand variations the most, right? They probably have the least by comparison. Some more shoulder variations that aren't just the same things with less pieces on them. So I do want to see that in the future, but it is nice to see that there are touching factions and giving them nice updated looks of armor. We got it for Sturgia, now we had it for Battania. I'd love to see the same thing for Volandia, a nice like heavier coat of like Brigandine or something of the sort, and get Khazate and Aserai in there as well. Imperial's got enough as it is. We don't need to touch them, but these are the new armors. Like I said before too, let's take a look at this armor and look at its respective armor and weight. 50, 21, and 7 equals 24 total weight. My encumbrance, if I reset all this, it's gonna take like 3 hours because it's doing a lot. There it goes, jumps up to 50. I think it was around 42 before the patch, but just to give you a frame of reference on this. Jumping into the gameplay options, you can look all the way down here and you'll see track attacked settlements. Enable auto tracking settlements when attacked. It's on by default. You can switch it to leader only or disabled. That's that new option. So let's conclude our video by jumping into a quick battle to show off the new spawn formation system, and then we'll just kind of close our video out from there. So here we are using that sweet RTS camera to get a nice good overhead shot of everything. But you can see our left flank is on the left, our right flank is, you guessed it, on the right. But it looks a lot neater, right? I don't have everything in one line. I don't have my horse archers 7.5 miles over this direction, way far away from the actual army, and my cavalry isn't like obscenely close to my infantry, almost stacking on top of them. So a nice orderly formation load in. I really like this, and I appreciate it because it's a lot easier to just kind of quickly make decisions like, okay, 1, you're going to go there, 2, you're going back here, 3, I want you to push up there, and 4, go around here. Now remember too, say the right flank covers horse archers and light cavalry. The left flank covers heavy cavalry and another one I can't remember. But the front flank covers heavy infantry, skirmishers, and light infantry. And the back is your civilians and your ranged units. So a nice, good breakout, even as your armies get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can just kind of have things kind of nicely kind of spread out for you. I'd rather have it too dense and in a nice, good, tight formation like that and allow me to spread out and make my formation wider versus everything being too spread out or having things spawn in the middle of towns and things just kind of get completely destroyed. So it's nice to see this improvement being made. But as a whole, guys, that concludes our video here on 1.5.8. If you have any questions, please by all means go ahead and let me know in the comment section below, or if you're experiencing any issues with it, again, by all means let me know in the comment section below. I personally, I would wait on 1.5.8. I would just wait for it to hit main branch, or just wait for 1.5.9 or 1.6.0, whichever one's the next one. That's probably going to be a little bit more enjoyable for you guys. There's not a whole ton here that really was a game breaker, right? Or changer for me to go, I need to play 1.5.8. Pillaging is cool, but like I said, it is quite buggy, and a number of other people have reported that to me. One thing I will notice is when it comes to Bannerlord bugs, they seem to be kind of self-encapsulated a lot of the times. Like, no one experiences a handful of the same bugs unless it's like a unanimous, like, hey, the game won't start up for anyone. Cool. But one facet of people will encounter a whole system of bugs different than a whole other facet of people. And I personally encounter very few bugs. And I don't know why, but I install mods and everything, and I still don't. But this is probably one of the buggier beta branches. So just as a little bit of a word of caution there, if you are jumping in, just make sure everything is backed up and saved so you don't lose it all. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, all that fun action. Let me know what your experience has been with 1.5.8 so far. But as always, have a good one and take care.